Hi everyone, it's Nichol Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Today we have another Stamptember exclusive limited edition from Riley & Company, but I thought it would be super fun to not only feature this stamp set, but to show how you could even take other stamps from your collection and create these wonderful winter backgrounds with this awesome tree from Mama Elephant. So while we are featuring the Riley & Company stamp, which you can see here, I've stamped at the bottom of a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panel for the first background. I'm creating masks for the design, and then I am going to be stamping the Mama Elephant tree in the background. I'm using a little Simon Says stamp masking paper. So I am going to be customizing this Riley & Company image. This stamp set is called I Like You. There is a coordinating die available. I'm going to be showing a couple of different ways to do this scene today. So the backgrounds are all going to be created exactly the same. We're just switching up which images and which company those images come from. So this first image, of course, is the Riley & Co. image with their signature moose and then Simon in the wagon that he's pulling. But because I am, and it's not necessarily a Christmas card, I guess I should start there. But because I wanted to create this Christmas background, I want to customize these images with Christmas. So you're going to see that here in a minute when I stamp some extra pieces. I didn't want to do extra masking, and so I didn't mask the scarf and hat that I add to those images, and I'll show you how I did that in a little bit because I did fussy cut those. So I'm using the tree as a guide, but next we're using Simon Says stamp images. This set was released last year. It's a 6x8 stamp called Gnome Peeking. Gnomes are everywhere and so popular. So I also am stamping these and masking these guys, and that's only because I realized I don't have the coordinating dies for this stamp set. There are coordinating dies available, and I will link to them in the supplies in case you want to pick those up because you don't want to do the masking. So my first two cards are showcasing lots of masking. So I stamped both of them, I created masks, and now I'm taking the Simon Says stamp A2 mask, the largest mask from this set. I know you guys have seen me use this over and over and over again, and it's because I truly love these masks. They make creating amazing backgrounds a breeze. Amazing backgrounds that are one layer, but it looks like you've matted it on another piece of paper. And I'm also using Speckled Egg Distress Oxide ink to create my blue wintry sky. The inks I think I chose this time, really, I wanted them to be subtle so that the images that we're coloring take center stage and everything else is just this beautiful background. Now this is going to work for any kind of image that you have. The main goal, I think, of this video was to show you a really fun way to create a Christmas or winter themed background, and it really doesn't matter what images you choose to put on top because it's interchangeable. So there is my first background, and I'm going to go ahead and take my next background with my gnomes, and I like to use a little post-it tape on the back. There is a little line around the frame image, so it helps you line it up with your card panel. And again, I'm taking my Speckled Egg ink and inking around the edges. And I'm not going quite all the way down to the bottom because I want that to appear to be the snowy ground. So we're just kind of concentrating, especially up near the top, and then lightening down the sides of each. And I forgot to mention, I did spritz the background a bit with water from a distress sprayer. I don't think it shows up that much, and quite honestly, I don't even think that you would need to do this because I don't think that it was as showy as I'd hoped it would be. But I did want to note that I did do that. For my last panel, this time we're actually going to color and die cut the images from another piece of paper. So I don't need to do any masking. We're just going to simply prep the background. So I wanted to show you both ways, with or without a coordinating die. I know from my poll I did the other night, many of you prefer to do the coordinating dies for so many reasons. I'm definitely in that camp, but I do like to show both ways because I know there are times where masking is super beneficial, or maybe you don't have the coordinating die, or maybe you just don't want the white outline. There are many, many reasons why you might want to do one way over the other. Okay, we're going to remove our waffle flower stencil mat and we're going to grab a Misty, and we are going to take our backgrounds now and add the tree to each. So one note about adding this beautiful tree from Mama Elephant, this is from their September release, probably one of my favorite stamp sets from the release. I say that, but honestly, the release is amazing. This is the Snowy Tree set, but this big, bold tree is incredible. And I am using another Distress Oxide ink. Sometimes I don't like how the look of a dye ink looks over an oxide, so I made the conscious effort to pick another oxide ink to stamp over the speckled egg. This is Rustic Wilderness, and of course I did use the Misty so that I could make sure and get the best stamped impression possible. It can be a bit of a trick to get a good impression around your masking. Now, once I've stamped that tree, I like to take some nice little tweezers, craft tweezers, and peel away the masks. So you can see I'm just kind of trying to pick them up here. They were on good, which is great because I don't have to worry about the ink seeping into the image, but peel those away, and there's our first background. Let's go ahead and do our gnomes. Same thing, we can leave our tree exactly where it is, and we are just going to stamp the next background. I am using this Misty tool to help get a good impression. I really didn't have to stamp that one more than once, which was great. I think I didn't re-ink it more than once. I did press the cover and try to make sure that I filled in all those areas around the mask, which sometimes can be a little tricky. Peel away my masks and look at those cute gnomes. So there are our two masked backgrounds. Then if you're using a coordinating die and not going to be doing masking, it's much easier because we simply are going to take our tree and stamp it right on the background. And I didn't think that impression was too good, so we're going to go ahead and stamp it one more time. And again, that is Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide ink. Now that we have all three backgrounds, let's start our coloring and of course stamping the rest of the images. So here on my paper I have the car with the tree and a bunny. That is from the tree picking stamp set. I have a mushroom from the gnome peeking stamp set, and then I have a scarf and a hat, and these are from different Lawn Fawn stamp sets. So remember earlier I said I wanted to customize Riley and Simon from the Riley & Co. limited edition exclusive. I want to customize them to have Christmas accessories. Well, I knew Lawn Fawn would be a great bet for accessories. So I think I just pulled from my Christmas stash of stamps, and I picked a scarf from one stamp set. It is linked below. I can't remember off the top of my head which one that is, but honestly, so many of them are going to have a scarf, and we're fussy cutting it. So even if it's attached to a critter, you could really realistically trim that away and use it. And then the hat is from I think it's from Cheery Christmas actually, because I looked for a tiny hat for Simon. And it ends up working perfectly, and that's what I stamped there. And of course, now I'm coloring in my images. I did speed up the coloring a little bit, not as fast as kind of my normal, but I did not want to really sit here for 50 minutes. So I did speed it up a little bit. I always start with the lower end of how fast it's going to go, and I gauge the video from how long that is there. So I felt like this was probably a pretty good length, but we're coloring a lot of images. You're going to see a lot of repetition though in color choices. I'm using my favorite earth tone color combinations for Riley. He's got sunglasses on, just really cute and cool. They kind of have funny, snarky type of stamps a lot of times. I will say I chose not to use the sentiments from the stamp set. mostly just because I wanted to make a Christmas set and these stamps weren't Christmas related. So this is an idea for taking some of those stamps from your stash, not necessarily even just this stamp set, but just anything that you might have, and creating a holiday type of stamp with it. You could just as easily like make it Valentine's card and have little hearts in the background, or you could do fall leaves. You could still do a scarf, but maybe do a little stocking cap instead, because I know that there's a stocking cap in a Lawn Fawn set that would be really cute. You could put a hat on Riley if you wanted to, and you could do leaves around the ground and leaves or trees, pardon me, in the background with fall leaves colors. So definitely think outside of the box with images that don't specifically say Christmas. Obviously our gnomes are more Christmassy. Our bunnies from Mama Elephant from the tree picking set are more Christmassy. But this stamp set in particular, and I know I have lots of stamps in my collection, and you guys do too, that you can make work for any occasion. You could put party hats on them, on Riley and Simon, and make this a birthday card as well. So just kind of want to throw that out there, that just by changing up your background and accessories, and don't be afraid to mix and match companies, you could totally make this work for anything. And I do think some of the greetings from this stamp set, this Riley & Co. stamp set, would be really funny for a snarky birthday card. So now I am coloring in Simon. I'm using a little bit different colors here. I love that Simon is included in the Riley & Company Stamptember sets. I think it's a fantastic nod to Simon. He's no longer with us. It was Heidi's pet, and I love that he is included because I just think it's such a nice way to commemorate the name of Simon Says Stamp, and it comes from her beloved pet. And then we're adding some fun detail to the sunglasses and to the eyes and nostrils with a black gel pen, as well as the handle or the little pull there for the wagon. Now here is the scarf and the little Santa hat that I picked, and I colored those in. Now keep in mind, this scarf is too big. I knew it was going to be too big, but I just literally picked one. I didn't want to go through all of my scarves because I knew I could trim it down. I'm fussy cutting it. It's going to be completely not noticeable to the recipient that that's what we do. So I know a lot of times I sort of get stuck with having to find just the perfect image, but if you are fussy cutting, or if you can find in kind of creative way to make it work, do that. You don't have to use things just as is. So I am fussy cutting my scarf and hat right now, and then I'm going to glue them in place. And I really feel that, I mean, obviously if you touch the card and in real life, you can see that they're glued on, but I don't think it is super duper obvious just at first glance. So I drew some little lines on the scarf to give it some texture, and then I'm just kind of measuring where I think I want to cut it. And I'm going to go around the edges of my scarf and blacken them with a black Copic marker. I know I'm out of frame. I'm so sorry. Please stay tuned though, because I have a video coming. Now I can't remember what day it is, because when I film these, or voiceover, I'm not always sure when the video's coming. But I do have another video coming where I'm going to show that a little bit more in depth with the fussy cutting and blackening the edges to really make the die cuts look a little nicer and not see the edge. So I've added the scarf, and now I'm going to trim out the little Santa hat, and we're going to pop it on Simon's head before we move on to the coloring of the rest of the images. And I'm zoomed in too close still. I should have zoomed out from the coloring, but literally it's just trimming, taking that black marker along the cut edge of the fussy cut piece, and then I'm figuring out where I want to put it, adding a little liquid adhesive and popping that in place. And it's starting to come together. It's looking cuter. It's not quite there yet, but we will get there. We want to color everything first and add any images to our panels if we're die cutting. And then we will add what I call the magic of the snowy backdrop and what really ties it all together. So our gnomes are next from the Gnome Peaking stamp set. I loved being able to revisit this stamp set. I initially thought I would use the truck image, which I used in a card last year. I will link to that card at the end of this video because I know you guys absolutely loved it. And if you're new here, maybe you haven't seen it. So I definitely want to link to that because the gnome set is a 6x8 stamp set with pretty small gnome images. Obviously, they work really nice on this card design, but there's this awesome old like vintagey truck in that set that I used on a card last year, and I thought I would use it here, but there were two reasons I didn't. One, it was a little bigger and just didn't kind of fit the portrait style card. If I'd done a landscape, maybe. Even at that, I'm not sure. And then I thought, you know, why don't you use some images from this set that you haven't already done? And I don't think I've used either of the two that I ended up using here today. Now, there is the extra little mushroom that I stamped and colored separately. I did that because I didn't want a mask, to be honest. And really, where I ended up putting the mushroom is not where I first thought I was going to. And I probably could have just stamped it right on my card. But I didn't, and that's okay. I fussy cut it and glued it in place, kind of like I did the scarf and the hat on the first card. But I love watching these cuties come to life. I kept my color scheme real consistent today, so you're going to see lots of traditional reds and greens, but definitely do whatever kind of color combination floats your boat there, because anything would be super cute. But I purposely picked kind of the limier green colors so it would stand out from the more rustic wilderness color of the tree, the more rustic green of the tree. So we picked YG 17 and 21, which is kind of one of my go-tos for a limey green. And then the color combination that I have really been loving this holiday season is our 24, 46, and 59. I kind of mix up my reds and do different color combinations at different times, but this has been my go-to for the Christmas red, fall red, anything like that. I really like this color combination. And we just want to balance out the accessories and the outfits so that not everything is red or everything is green. A little warm gray for the beards. We'll also do reds for the mushrooms and a little yellow red for the spots and the stems. But these are really cute, very fun to color. I definitely just tried, really wanted to show a variety of stamp images that all work with the same background, because a lot of times we can take a lot of the work and thinking out of creating, but make a card that doesn't look exactly like the one before. Some people like to do assembly line style where they do a bunch of cards exactly the same. Some people like to mix it up every time, and this is a great background that you could achieve with lots of different products. So for me, I would say your masking stencil, a snowfall type of stencil, it doesn't have to be this specific one, are kind of your basics. Then you could take tree stencils, a tree stamp like I did here. You could do a whole bunch of trees, like a little tree forest. That's kind of the theme I was going for. And then mix and match what you put in front of that to build a quick scene. And then finish with sentiment strips. I always say just finish with a sentiment strip. They are my go-to way to add a fantastic sentiment to a card. I didn't think of this while I was working, but as I'm coloring right now, I think it would have been super cute to do a black and red buffalo check scarf on my snowman. I did white stripes because that's my go-to with a white pen, but as I'm looking at it, I really, really think a buffalo check would have been cute, and I need to make a note of that to do that with something this holiday season because that would be fun. Adding little highlights to the nose, black gel pen to the snowman's eyes and mouth, extra detail to his buttons, little touches like that. So that's all we're doing here, is adding some little finishing touches. And then we've got our remaining images. So that's going to be our mushroom. I want to color that really quick. We're going to fussy cut that, and then we're going to glue that in place on our gnome peeking card before we move on to our mama elephant images. And it's easy to trim out, so that's part of the reason I think that I chose to just fussy cut it, because it is very easy to trim with our scissors. And going around it with my black marker, just around the edges. And again, I'm so sorry, you guys. I wasn't even thinking, because I knew I should zoom in for the coloring, but really for this, it would have been better if I'd zoomed out. But I kind of like the mushrooms tucked together like this. You could even add extras if you wanted. So I'm just gonna pop it right here. So that's what I was talking about, because that's kind of a big open spot. I really could have definitely just stamped it. All right, that looks cute. Let's get our last images colored, and then let's put it all together. So this is a different green color combination. I wanted this tree to be different than the accents on the clothing. This is one of my favorites. It's YG93, 95, and 97. And I'm just kind of using a feathering technique, and I'm going over the tree a couple times so I don't lose too much of the tree definition. And I love this tree on top of the car. It's cute. I do see, I mean, I notice it later and I color it in, but I missed part of the tree that's hanging over the front of the car. It's kind of back behind the little bunny's head that's sticking out. And I love the bunny that's sitting on the tree trunk hanging off the end of the car. Really, really cute. The car is going to be red. My main accent for all of these cards was red. Part of the reason I chose speckled egg for my background is I thought red would really pop against that light, pretty blue, kind of wintry sky blue. And we just want to work to get a nice blend. I did have to work a little bit harder here to get that color just the way I wanted it to look, but it'll be worth it. And these have coordinating dies. Now, keep in mind, I am showing you two versions that I masked and one version that I'm not masking, but all three of these actually have coordinating dies, and you would not have to do this. I just did not have the coordinating dies for the Riley & Company limited edition exclusive for Stamptember 2021, and I thought I had the gnome peeking dies, and I don't. So guess what? They are in my cart because I definitely need those so I can do a holiday card or two with that this year. I'm going to grab a little bit lighter cool grays than what I used for the tires. And we're going to color in kind of like the bumpers and all of that on the car with our lighter cool grays. Our bunnies are all going to be in the same earth tone shades that I have used throughout. So that's going to be anything in the range of E40 to E47. There's the rest of that tree. As I started to color the bunny, I was like, oh my goodness, I missed part of the tree. And I love how he's hanging out of the car. I think they're just so cute. Mama Elephant makes my favorite bunnies. They are so, so cute. I had a friend, she has since passed, but she absolutely loved the Mama Elephant bunnies. They were her favorite thing. I know I've talked about her before in videos. She used to come to a craft retreat with all of us, and I remember she and I would sit, and she was always so enamored with the Mama Elephant bunnies. She ordered every single set that there was a bunny in, and she just loved it. And it's a good memory of her. So I really, every time I use the Mama Elephant bunnies, I think about her. Her name was Linda, and she was a very sweet, kind friend. So we're gonna keep coloring here. I like the little bunny in the back seat kind of peeking up. And then of course the other little bunny hanging on the tree. It's like the dad bunny's driving and one of the kids is in the back seat and one's up on the tree and the mom's running back behind the car. I know I tell you guys this all the time, but I tell myself little stories about the images that I'm coloring, and that was kind of mine. So you guys will have to tell me yours because I think it's funny. And how cute is this stamp set? I mean, oh my goodness, Mama Elephant knocked it out of the park with their anniversary release this month. So good. I know I've said it over and over, but both Mama Elephant and Lawn Fawn have just had amazing releases here this September. One more image, you guys, real quick. I know this was a lot of coloring today, but I thought it's weekend and I knew this was coming on the weekend anyway, and I thought it would be super fun to just show a variety of card designs more than just the Stamptember set. Lots of red for Mama Bunny. I think we're going to give her a little polka dot coat with a white pen as well. Now, once I have colored all these in and die cut, I am simply going to glue these in place. There's really not going to be anything much different. Now, you could always pop them up with foam adhesive if you want to. I chose not to because you'll notice when I get to stenciling, which is what we're going to be doing next, and adding the falling snow over the front of our scene, that I thought it would be easier to apply that over flat images. So I know I'm a huge proponent and fan of foam adhesive, all the things, but today I am not using foam adhesive on all the things. I almost said something that did not make sense. Sometimes that happens. We get into a video, I think I'm about 26 minutes into recording, and sometimes I think to myself, what are you even saying? And then of course adding black glaze pen to anything that needs that. We are going to add some glossy accents to a few things, but not until the very, very end, because we have some stenciling and things to do, and I want to be able to do that while everything is dry. And here I'm just finishing up any small finishing details. So anything with a white pen, like I said, I'm making her jacket polka dot. I might add some things to, I think I finished the gnomes, but I know I added quite a bit of white pen detail to that background as well. Anything like that. And then we're going to grab our stencil mat again. So here are our backgrounds. Got my stencil mat. I'm going to go back to my A2 mask. I just saved my Post-it tape. And the reason this is important is because I only want the falling snow to be in the scene. I don't want it to go all the way out to the edge of the panel. And to do that, I need to use my mask again. Now, I was really, really careful, and I actually did not have to clean either of these in between changing each background, and you'll see what I mean. I'm using the Tim Holtz white opaque grit paste. It is my absolute favorite for white snow that's not going to get lost. It's going to retain that beautiful white. It may, over a dark color, pick up a hint, like over the trees, it may pick up a hint of green, but it still looks good. So I didn't pull the paste all the way down to the bottom, and I tried to avoid the faces of my critters. I want it over the tree. I want it over some of the other elements. I just don't really want it all over the face of my critters. So there's the first one. And I'm going to carefully switch to my next background without cleaning my masks. I really didn't want to have to go wash them, dry them in between each, and it worked out great. So I'm going to carefully place my A2 mask in place. Then I'm going to place my snowfall, which this is an extra large snowfall or falling snow background, meaning it's going to work with a slimline style card, but you can see you can use it for an A2 card as well. I love the size. I was going for the size of the falling snow, and this has a lot of smaller snow, which I thought looked best for this. So there is my GNOME card. And again, we're just going to put our Post-it tape on the back of the panel, place our A2 mask, line up the snow, and we're going to stencil the last one, and then I'm going to pause the video, go run and clean this. You do want to clean this right away. You want to clean your palette knife. You want to clean your masks. And if you get any on your stencil mat, you want to clean that as well, although the stencil mat's a little more forgiving and you can usually scrape it off. But I don't want this to dry on anything, so I definitely recommend going and drying this right away. Now, I felt like I missed something. And I thought this was important to show because I was able to kind of tape everything back in place. I'm being super careful. Line that up. And I'm just going to add a little bit. What I love about these new stencil mats from Waffle Flower is they really grip your paper. It's not moving around. They're so fantastic. I've used them a ton, I know, in my latest videos, but I really, really like them. So there is our third background. Now these do need to completely dry. The grit paste dries quickly. So while it's drying, I'm going to grab my sentiments, and I have a whole bunch. I actually stamped more than what I end up needing. The greetings are all from Gnome Peeking, and then the Mama Elephant sets. So that's going to be our tree picking and our snowy tree sets. I'm stamping them with the Hero Arts embossing and watermark ink, sprinkling on white embossing powder, and then heat embossing here with my heat tool before die cutting with, you guys probably already guessed it, my very favorite Simon Says Stamp Sentiment Labels dies. I love that they come in so many different widths, and there was one that fit each of these sentiments. And here I'm simply die cutting them. I line the die up with one side, run it through, and then I line it up with the other side and run it back through the other way. This way you get a perfectly die cut sentiment strip. If you don't have sentiment strip dies, that's totally okay. You can trim this with your paper trimmer if you would like. I just love how it looks really clean and finished, and I find that I get the best results with these dies. In fact, I think I've mentioned this in other videos, but I use these so much that I don't even put them away anymore. I have a magnet right next to my die cutting machine that I keep them on so that I can grab them for my cards very quickly and easily. Because I found myself having to go over to the bin where I keep my Simon Says Stamp dies and look for it every time. And I thought, this is so silly because I use it on almost every card. So that was kind of my plan there. You can see that even this little wider one here. And I'm just planning out how I want to do my sentiments. I kind of thought I'd do 2 sentiment strips on each card, but as I laid them out, I decided I didn't really necessarily like that. I guess I just played around with the different sentiment strips. Don't be afraid to change your mind. I kept all these extras because I can use them on another card. So here are all of our backgrounds. By now, my grit paste is dry. We are ready for finishing details. So finishing details for my cards today are going to be popping up our sentiment strips with foam adhesive. And I am using foam adhesive here. I know I didn't use it on anything else, but I think that helps set apart our greeting. And I use these nice thin adhesive strips. So we're going to have Merry Christmas and then to my favorite Gnomi, which I think is hilarious. I had to use one of the Gnomi sentiments from the Gnome Peeking set. And then we're going to put the smaller strip underneath, and I went a little wonky there. That would drive me crazy. I even think these trees would be really cute with the little star on top. I didn't do that today, but that's a fun idea. And then For the sentiment here, this is from the Snowy Tree set for the Riley & Co. card. That's where I used that, and I used Wishing You the Merriest of Christmases. And then the Tree Picking stamp set is where we have May Peace, Joy, and Love Find Their Way Under Your Christmas Tree. And that's the Mama Elephant set that goes with those images. So there are our backgrounds. So for the finishing touch, you guys probably already guessed, we are going to add a little red heart underneath each, right to the middle of our tree, I guess, for a fun little accent. And then Trinity Stamps has these awesome vanilla sugar snowflake sprinkles that I think are so clever and fun. I'm a sucker for all of these little embellishments like this, so anything like that I love, and I thought we would add just a few of them to the sky for added texture and interest. So I know we have the little round circles from the grit paste in the background, but I thought to have a few snowflake sprinkles would be a fun finishing touch. And I'm using the Barely glue and an embellishment wand. So just adding little dabs of glue and then picking up the sprinkles with my embellishment wand and placing them where I want them to go. And the dimension here and just the subtle shape of the snowflake is so fun and perfect. The size and scale is fantastic. And once I have that, and I think I even go back and add about 2 more snowflakes per card. I think there's 5 on each. I am just going to simply place this entire panel on a white top fold card base. Super easy. And not very thick. I always love to find ways to make cards have lots of layers, but not be super thick if at all possible. And I think these cards fit the bill. We'll add those last few snowflakes. And then the final thing is some glossy accents. I know I mentioned glossy accents earlier. We are going to take glossy accents and add it to the carrot nose, which will give it a beautiful glossy finish. We're going to add it to the buttons on the snowman and the pom-poms on the hat, as well as the ice skates on the skating gnome. We're going to place the glossy accents on the wheels on the car. And also I think the lights, I placed it on like the headlight and the tail light. And then on my Riley & Co. card, I actually placed it on the wheels on the wagon and also over the sunglasses so that they would have a glossy raised finish. You want to let that set and dry completely and then place these on your top fold card bases and you're all finished. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these winter background cards featuring lots of fun stamps, dies, and stencils. The supplies I use to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring the GNOME Peaking stamp set that I showed in this video that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.